Good morning, all of you. It's Reverend Mark Abernethy back at the foot of the cross in the sanctuary this morning. It is cold and rainy outside, but I wanted to come back to the sanctuary after a couple of sessions away so that you would recognize this familiar space. And I always like looking at the cross with the white linen drape across it that we put up for Easter. I had the great privilege on Saturday with a few people in my family of going on one of the unsung hero parades here in South Windsor. If any of you have a chance, I commend it to you. It's one of the best things I've done since social distancing and quarantining started here in town and around the country and the world. We gathered in a particular neighborhood and it was incredible. There were three huge fire trucks, including the hook and ladder truck, and there were at least 3 police cars, and there were probably 75 or 80 cars, and all of us lined up, and we went from neighborhood to neighborhood recognizing people who are unsung heroes in this town, people who do all kinds of different work, but people who have been recognized for the contributions they have made during this time of pandemic, all of them gifted and wonderful people. So we drove from neighborhood to neighborhood, honking horns and waving and yelling thank you at the window and displaying signs and posters that all of us had made and balloons and all kinds of wonderful things. And everywhere we went along the route of that Unsung Hero Parade, there were people standing on lawns, not just the people who we recognize as unsung heroes, but neighbors and people who were friends and people who lived a few doors down. It was amazing to see everybody outside on their lawn or on their porch or sitting in some kind of lawn chair, and people had smiles on their faces and they were clapping and they were affirming what we were doing and all the people that live in their neighborhood that do these amazing jobs and all this good work during this time. So I commend it to you. It was really a profound thing. And it probably took us an hour and a half maybe to finish the parade. But as I said earlier, it was one of the best things that I have done since the pandemic started and the quarantine started. As I've thought about that Unsung Hero Parade, I thought about a few verses from Paul's letter to the Ephesians in the New Testament. So in the 4th chapter, starting in verse 11, the writer of Ephesians says, "The gifts that God gave us were that some would be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ, until all of us come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to maturity, to the measure of the full stature of Christ." I think about those verses and about the way in which all of us contribute to the building up of the body of Christ, or the building up of faith, even if people are not Christian. And I know there are many people who are not Christian who we saw along the route on Saturday, the parade route. What we all do, we all give our gifts to contribute to the building of the human body and the body that, the communal body, the body that ties us together, what we refer to in this church as the body of Christ. So I think about the people who are working hard among us, and so many of them we saw on Saturday, and I sort of changed the words to this passage in my own mind. The gifts that God gave us were that some would be health workers, and some would be doctors and nurses, and some among us would be teachers, and some among us would be essential business workers, and some among us would be first responders, and some among us would be parents. And all of us have our own gifts, ways we are building up the body of strength and hope and spirit among us, even during this time of pandemic. You know, we tend to do much better in this world at finding people's faults and at finding ways to criticize other people. But I'm not sure we do such a good job at affirming the gifts that all of us have. And during this time when we are quarantined and there are people who are fulfilling essential roles in so many ways around us, it's a really good time for us to affirm the gifts of other people, whether we do that in the form of a parade or not. But we all bring We all have our own gifts, and we all contribute those gifts to the building up of our collective hope and our collective spirit and our collective psyche. The gifts that we all give further us and make us stronger as we work towards the day when we can return to some semblance of life as normal. So I give thanks for the unsung heroes among us and for all people who are contributing their gifts to build us up during this time. Let us continue to find ways to affirm those as people of faith, and let us continue to do all that we can to add our own gifts as we build the body of Christ and the body of humanity in the world in which we live. Blessings to all of you.